2,000.
Like you said, to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
He said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign. All right, everybody, welcome this evening to Small Town Underground. I hope everybody's doing well out there. We're starting the show just a little early this evening because I got a special guest in here with me this evening. So if you're just tuning in, feel free to share this live stream out to groups or anybody that you think that might be interested, because this is a special evening. The guest that I'm about to introduce, he was here with me yesterday. We did a series of videos that I'm going to be hopefully starting to release over the weekend. Looks great. We got to use the camera and use a new lapel mic and use the other studio room. So I'm real excited about that. It's going to be a lot more in-depth conversation about the John Birch Society. And so really excited. He's come all the way from South Carolina to this area to coordinate with people, to get involved. And so super excited. I've been looking into the John Birch Society for a long time. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Arthur Hampton.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. It's so good to have you. We got to spend some time yesterday and really do a deep dive into a lot of topics and a lot of things on John Birch. And another couple members have signed up. I'm proud to say I've signed up. And so why don't you tell our audience who you are and what you're all about, man?
Well, I'm Art Hampton. I'm biracial, I guess. My mother's from Taiwan. Her parents escaped Chairman Mao Zedong and the Chinese communists with Chiang Kai-shek and Sun Yat-sen and to Taiwan. And my grandmother was actually pregnant with my mother at the time. My mother was born in 1949, if you know the significance of that year. Mm-hmm. And so I have a great disdain for communism and totalitarian governments. And it's kind of funny because when I first took this position with the John Birch Society, my mother asked me, she goes, what do you do? And I said, well, we fight against communism and socialism, deep state. And she's like, communism, what's that word? I don't know what the word is. And I didn't know what the word was, so I used my translator on my phone and I showed it to her, and she turned white as a ghost.
Really?
I mean, white as a ghost. And she goes, oh, 共产主义. No, 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 no. No, no, no. And I'm like, no, what do you mean? She goes, you quit. I said, quit? I just got the job. You want me to quit? She said, no, they'll kill you. I'm like, it's not as bad as it was then.
Right.
But I think I'll be all right as long as I don't mess with the Clintons.
There you go. Amen to that.
But and so that's kind of when I first got hired on. I've been a member for 10 years.
Okay.
Volunteering, doing things on the local level. I was a business and professional chapter leader for a while, and that's a different type of chapter. And really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the information. First and foremost, we're a intelligence organization to give people the intelligence they need so that they can get active, to cut through the propaganda, because you're not going to get any answers from the mainstream propaganda. And I intentionally call it propaganda because that's what it is. And so at the fundamental level, if you don't know what's going on, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And so that's the first step in doing something. And that's what we encourage you to do, is you read up on it and then do something about it, rather than just sitting around and gripe and complain about the problem. Let's do something about it and get into it. And so John Birch, people think that John Birch started the John Birch Society. No, it was actually Robert Welch that started the John Birch Society. Now, but he named the society after John Birch, who was a Baptist Christian missionary to China. He was from Macon, Georgia, good old Southern boy.
Right.
And he was over there doing missionary work. And he was actually a martyr. He was the first martyr under Chairman Mao Zedong. Well, he was over there, and if you're familiar with the Doolittle Raiders in World War II, America, we wanted to strike back after Pearl Harbor, and the bombers that they had at the time, they were able to take off from the aircraft carriers, but they didn't have the technology. The bombers were so big and heavy to let them land safely on the aircraft carriers. And so the plan was launch an attack, bomb Japan, crash land in China. Heavy.
Right.
And so that was the plan. So that's what they did. They took off, bombed Japan, strike back, crash landed in China. Well, you'd think in the planning meeting of that operation, they'd have thought to put somebody that spoke Chinese on these planes to kind of help them in China. And so they crash land, and they're trying to hide from the Japanese because they're coming after them. And the Chinese people's like, well, I don't know, I don't speak English, but we know this guy that does. This American missionary, John Birch. So he ultimately ends up being a translator and for them, and hiding them from the Japanese that was coming after them, and saving their lives ultimately. And so John Birch was a war hero, and he did such a good job in helping the American side of the war that they give him a field commission. He was Captain John Birch, and he was an intelligence officer. So what he did was he gathered intelligence on the Chinese, this time the Japanese communist, or the communist movement in general over there.
Okay.
And he did such a good job. He was such a big threat that when 11 days after the war, he was riding in a vehicle, and they figured out who he was. And he, like I said, he was the first martyr under Chairman Mao Zedong and the Chinese communists who took power in 1949. So 11 days after World War II had ended, they killed him.
Wow.
And the American government, unbeknownst to most people, McCarthy was right, by the way, we had already had a communist infiltration in the American government then. And after the war had ended, the Chinese government, the Chinese communists, and I always make the distinction because my mother's side of the family was the Chinese capitalists fighting against them. The Chinese communists, they killed him after the war had ended, and that would have thrown us back into war. They killed an American soldier, an American citizen, after the war had ended. And what the American government did, because of the infiltration of the Chinese communists, they covered it up. And his family didn't know what happened to him for, I don't know, 10 years maybe.
Wow.
For several years after the fact. And Robert Welch, who the founder of the John Birch Society, he found this story, this evidence of what really happened and the cover-up. And so he got the permission from John Birch's family to name this nonprofit after John Birch.
Wow.
The war hero, the Christian missionary and martyr to China. And so what we do fundamentally is, first and foremost, is we keep track of the movements of the communists here in America. And like John Birch did, we keep his legacy of keeping track of the communist movements, because you can't fight them if you don't know what they're doing.
Right.
I believe it was Sun Tzu who wrote The Art of War, and he said, if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you'll be successful in 1,000 battles. If you know yourself and you don't know your enemy, you'll be successful half the time.
All right.
If you don't know yourself and you don't know your enemy, you ain't gonna win nothing.
Amen.
Excuse my Southern. And so that's kind of the story of how we got started. And there's several tools that we have in place to do that. One of the main things that we use to cut through the mainstream propaganda is the New American magazine here. And here's a copy of it. You can go to thenewamerican.com and check out some articles there and videos. But this one here in particular is Make America States Again. This is one of our action points. And so we are the United States of America. We're not the United State of America.
Right.
Our founding fathers give us this republic with the decentralization of power so that we don't end up under a tyrannical government. And that's what they give us. And, you know, everything that we seem to be doing is going back to a centralized power in D.C. I mean, it's like they're taking more and more power away from the states, and it just, you know, encroaching on us, the 10th Amendment and different things like that. And it's just a slow thing. And so we need to make America states again,
Right.
that come together on the federal level and work together. But the federal government was supposed to be the smallest form of government. The president was supposed to have the least amount of powers. And they had these checks and balances in place so that if, you know, the president did start acting like a king, that Congress was there to hold him in check. And that's how it should work. So in recent history, you know, we had Congress undo what Trump did on bump stocks. Trump took away bump stocks. Congress said, no, that's a violation of the Second Amendment. We're going to stop you from doing that.
Right.
And if they had a spine, a lot of the unconstitutional things and unethical things that Joe Biden did in his regime, they could have stopped it, but they didn't. Right. And so that's kind of where we're at. We're almost under a monarchy again. Instead of a king laying down edicts and decrees and signing decrees, we have a president that signs executive orders. Like Trump did a lot of good, but executive orders are temporary. Because when Biden got in there, he just wrote more executive orders and undid what Trump did.
Right.
And now we have Trump back, but who knows who we're going to have in 4 years. You know, is it going to be Gavin Newsom? Is it going to be Nancy Pelosi? Who is it?
Right.
Is it going to be Kamala Harris again? I mean, you don't know.
Lord.
And so what I would propose would be more of a long-term gain. It's a long-term goal. And it's hard because you don't see the results of what we're doing as the John Birch Society up front. You don't get immediate results, and that's a hard sell. But it produces lasting results.
Right.
And so that's what I want. I want something that will stick instead of this, oh, we won, let's all fall asleep, and then in 4 years we'll ramp back up again. No, let's keep fighting. Let's stop playing defense. It's time to go on offense, and let's push the needle back to the right.
Right.
And that's kind of what I want to encourage people to do. It's kind of like you get up in the first half and you fall asleep in the third and fourth quarter, and you get getting beat.
Right.
Because you fall asleep. No, we need to stay ever vigilant. And that's what I want to encourage people to do today. Because, quite frankly, our elections are no better than they were 4 years ago. The only difference is we got people watching.
Right.
We got people watching. But the machines are still the problem, or a big problem.
Yeah.
And
Big time.
Everything like that. I mean, they're cheating so many different ways. It's like, what can you deal with? And the machines are the main way that they cheat, because it doesn't take any effort.
Right.
You cheat online, you can in your mother's basement hack into it, or they have control over it.
Right.
And so that's the biggest way that they are cheating, and I think we need to deal with that first. I mean, it's kind of like going to the doctor and you got all these things wrong. Where you got a hangnail, you got athlete's foot, but also you got a gash on your side and you're bleeding out. So what do you deal with? Do you deal with the hangnail? Do you deal with the big gash where you're bleeding out on? And so, and that's what all these other things is, stuffing ballads, all these other little things that they're doing to distract you from how they're really cheating. And that's some of the things that we need to overcome still. So don't fall asleep.
Right.
Vote Amish.
Right.
Vote, push for that. And you can take a stand on the county level. And we take stands on the county level anyway. I mean, Spalding County until last year was still a dry county. And there's several counties like that in Georgia and Alabama. If we could take a stand on alcohol, why can't we take a stand on something that really matters, that is our elections?
Right. One of the biggest civic duties that we are ever, that we do.
Absolutely. And so, and not only that, but getting away from the machines on the county level, you save the county hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so it's just unrealistic. The advantages that they sell you, and I keep using this illustration, that's what they do, is they give you a little bit of an advantage of what where they want to kind of bait you into it, and then the bad things that's in opposition to what you're doing just far outweigh the benefits. Just it's astronomical.
Right.
You sell your birthright for a bowl of beans, kind of like Esau. That's what continuously what they do, and they bait people into it.
Isn't it funny how we were promised electronic voting would speed the process up, yet we still are not finished fully counting in this election?
It's slowing it down. I mean, it's slowing it down.
Yeah.
And there's I got to meet this guy right here. This is Dr. Frank.
Dr.
Follow the data
Frank.
with Dr. Frank.
A friend of the show.
I think he was on this show.
He was. We went to a seminar. He's been here. We'll hopefully get him back one of these days.
Excellent. Well, if you watch some of his videos, if you look, and he tracks, there's a graph he shows, and it's going up like this. This is population growth, and then right underneath population growth is registered voters. Okay, and for 70 years, it's like this. Okay, and then around 93, 94, when Clinton got elected, that graph of registered voters starts to become erratic. Now, what happened? Okay. And then around 2000, instead of it being a little bit erratic, it becomes really erratic. Okay, so it's stable for 50 years at least or longer, and then erratic, and then really erratic. So that's when they started to cheat with voter registrations.
Right.
And so And it wasn't until 2020 that we started investigating what was going on. And they cheat minimally, very subtly. 10% here, 10% there.
Yeah.
So that people don't notice. And so far, we haven't really noticed until 2020 that it was so blatantly obvious that they cheated that they started digging. And then when they started digging, that's when we started going, oh, how far back does this go? It goes back to 92, 93, what?
Yep.
94?
And Diebold and the EBS systems that eventually became Dominion. I mean, it was all the same setup.
Absolutely. And do you know what happened in 2000? Why it became even more erratic?
Why is that?
The machines.
The machines, right?
Because up until 2000, if you're going to cheat, you have to physically cheat. You have to physically put the papers there. You had to physically register people to vote.
Right.
Yada, yada, yada. Well, 2000, they can cheat digitally.
On proprietary software, no less.
And it makes it even easier. And so that's some of the ways that it's interesting, you know, how you put the dots together. And I really think, that Biden beating Trump was a really hard sell. People figured it out, but having Camilla beat Trump was impossible. I think you would have people uprising, and I think that's why that and J.D. Vance is why they let Trump win, because he won.
Right.
It was so overwhelming the last couple of times that they just had to. And so one of the other things in this magazine here, I'm actually purchased several copies of this magazine, Depopulation by Design. I mean, you had Bill Gates talking about population control for 30 years.
Yes.
And then when he comes out with a vaccine that sterilizes girls in Africa, while he's giving a speech, it says, if we can effectively administer a vaccine, we can reduce the population by 15%.
By 15%.
And then that vaccine comes out and it's sterilizing people, and you go, was that a coincidence? I mean, I was born at night. I wasn't born last night. I mean, come on. It's too much of a coincidence for it to be different. And I don't want any product from anybody that I'm going to put in my body that wants population control.
Amen. But wouldn't you say a lot, we're talking about communism and fighting against it, I think one of the key, like bedrock foundations is depopulation. Would you agree with that?
What's control of the population?
And I believe that they would probably love to depopulate, especially people like us who are going to stand up against it. So
absolutely, and if you have a smaller population, you can control it easier, and that's what it is. It's a totalitarian government. They want total control of your life. You remember the Georgia Guidestones that blew up a couple of years ago?
Absolutely.
What was the first thing?
Depopulate about 500 million people, right?
Maintain a population of 500 million.
Yeah.
Well, to get to the point to maintain the population at 500 million, you've got to kill off 94% of humanity.
Yep. Yeah. Very bold.
That is mass murder, genocide, whatever you want to call it. And honestly, I think it's because they hate the image of God.
Well, sure. Absolutely.
What's the first thing that God told Adam and Eve? Well, he said, be fruitful and multiply. You bear the image of God. Children are a blessing. That's what the Bible says. And be fruitful and multiply my image because it brings glory to me. And they hate the image of God. They hate God fundamentally. And they want to take God off his throne and put themselves there, or something else, the government, whatever it is. That's the fundamental issue with transgenderism. They want to take God off his throne as creator and put themselves there. I can be whatever I want to be, because the Bible says God created a male and female.
Right.
Well, God doesn't exist, and I am God. And so I can make myself as a female or a male, whatever.
Or a unicorn.
Whatever.
Right. It's kind of like what we were talking about yesterday. It's the difference of living in a realistic, common sense type atmosphere and just being completely in a fantasy world, right?
Absolutely. And they're living in a fantasy world. I mean, because they don't like the world that God made them in, because they hate the Creator. Right. But the problem is they still live in the world that God created, and they cannot escape that. and hell is real, and if they don't turn to Christ, that's where they're going.
Right.
That's simple. That's the simplicity of the gospel, and they hate the one that created them.
Yes, I think you're right. We've got a lot of craziness going on in this world, and you know, even what you're talking about now is a perfect time for people to get involved in something like this, right? I mean, the Great Awakening is upon us. So we went through this crazy last 4 years. Now we went through this historical crazy election. People are wide open on social media. We have outlets now. This is the time to be involved, right?
Absolutely. This is the time that we go on the offensive and we start moving the needle for once, and I don't know, the last 100 years back to the right, and decrease the size of government. I really love what Trump is saying. Get rid of the Department of Education. It's unconstitutional. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. You know, all these federal agencies that are unconstitutional. It's very interesting. Robert Welch said, well, before I get to the quote, there's 18 enumerated powers given to Congress, the federal government. If we reduce the size of government just to those 18 things, Robert Welch said we would have successfully reduced the size of government by 80%. Now, he said that 50 years ago, 40 years ago, and the government has grown since then.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And so what is it now? 85, 90% of what the federal government does is unconstitutional. It's not in the few and defined powers given to Congress. You don't, at that point, you don't need a balanced budget amendment. You just need those 18 things that they need to be doing anyway.
Right.
Or only be doing.
Right.
And so the opposition would say, well, if the Constitution doesn't forbid us from doing it, we can do it. Unless it tells us we cannot do it, we can do it.
Right.
Well, that's impossible to live by.
Absolutely.
Because who can list all the things that anybody ever think of the things you can't do? Imagine taking your car to go get its brakes fixed, and you sign a work order, fix the brakes and the rotors if necessary. Okay? You have a work order saying that's what you're authorized to do. And the next day you come back to get your car, and they've painted it, and they put a stereo system in it, and they've done all this other stuff, and lo and behold, the brakes aren't even fixed because they didn't even do the job that they were supposed to do in the beginning.
Right.
Look at some of the roads that we've got now.
Right.
You done all those other things, and you didn't even do the one thing that you were supposed to do. You didn't do it. And then you look at the bill, and the bill reflects all of those things they did that you did not authorize them to do.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of work order? And he says his justification is, well, you didn't tell me I couldn't do it. Well, I didn't tell you could do it. But for me to list out all the different things that you can't do would be impossible. Don't touch the 4th lug nut on the right side front tire.
Right.
Don't touch the 5th lug nut on the passenger side rear tire. I mean, don't touch the color of the car. I mean, you would have a work order that would be the reams of paper that the bills that they pass. Lord knows they didn't read it. And quite frankly, they didn't read the Constitution either.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you, adding to that, wouldn't you say, like, and you see all these crazy, idiotic laws that continue to be passed over and over and over again, when the law is the law. And if we were back to the fundamentals of the law, you wouldn't need all these other laws, right? It seems so redundant.
Absolutely. I forgot who said this, but someone said it. It said, if you don't like the few laws that they have in the civil government in the Bible, you're going to live by tens of thousands of laws. And is that not true today? Tens of thousands of laws today, because we can't live by the few laws set out in the Bible. And fundamentally, it's summed up in the 10 Commandments. And Christ sums up the 10 Commandments with one law, or 2 laws. Love God, love your neighbor.
Right. There you go.
That's the summation of the law. And then it's not a redefining of the law. He isn't giving us a different law. Some people say, well, that was the law of Moses. What wasn't Moses' law? God gave him the 10 Commandments. He was just the prophet to give it to the people.
Right.
And by the way, Christ is God, so it's God's law.
There you go.
And they forget he says in Matthew chapter 5, do not think that I've come to abolish the law. I've not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill. Now, whatever you interpret fulfill to mean, it doesn't mean abolish. And then right after that, he says, not one jot or tittle, not one iota of the law will pass away until the end of this age. Not one dot of the I, not one stroke of the T will pass away.
Right.
He's telling you, he told you 3 different ways, and people still say, oh, well, we don't have to do that anymore. You got Andy Stanley running around here in Georgia. We got to unhinge the Old Testament. Well, the Old Testament's the foundation of the New Testament.
Right.
Different things like that. But back to the John Birch Society, we come up with a lot of these different trifolds here. You can buy these at the stack of 50 and pass them out to get people aware of what's going on, aware of different things. You hand them out at, I like to hand these out at GOP meetings, at town halls, different places into public square. We got to take back the public square, really.
We do.
And this one here is exposing the UN mass migration scheme. Well, the UN is a globalist organization.
Yes.
They want a one world government, and that's not a conspiracy theory. They openly say that. The Council of Foreign Relations says the same thing. Bilderberg says the same thing. And so, understanding why they want mass migration, they want illegal aliens here, is because in a one world government, you cannot have borders. And that's you look at the goal and what they're pushing for, and it's right to it, straight to it. And so, you can read up on it and give it to people to read up. And then there's a QR code on the back for more information for your scholars out there that like to read more. There's that stuff. We have 30 different action points. So one of the ways that JBS is different from most other organizations is most other organizations are one-hit wonders. We want to stop abortion. We want to get the pornography out of schools. We want to, whatever. Stop them from defunding the local police. And so they work on that one thing. Now, those are all good things to work on. Don't get me wrong. And those are 3 action points that we have in JBS. But if you cut the tree down at the root, the branches fall with it. Those are all symptoms. Those are all branches of the one tree that are globalist, communist, that are pushing to establish a one world government in a godless society, or if you want to quote H.W. Bush, a new world order.
That's right.
Okay. And so you expose the people doing it. You go after the people doing it. Just going after the issue is defense. You're defending that. But if you go after the person that's pushing it, that's taking it to the next level.
Right.
And that's what we do, is we deal with all these things and we get to the deeper part of the truth, that who is actually pushing for this. Because the common people, most of the people in America are conservative. The conservatives outnumber the liberals 100 to 1, if not 200 or 300 to 1.
Right.
But they don't know who's pushing this. They don't know about the deep state. Oh, well, or label them as conspiracy theorist or whatever. I was just watching a thing 10 or 12 years ago. You talk about the deep state and you get condemned by the mainstream media. There is no deep state. You're just a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like they talk about the deep state if it's normal, because it's like they showed their head.
100%. Look at fluoride. Look at atrazine. Look at what we call, I'm not saying chemtrails. What I'm saying is, they spray metallic particles in the air. All of these things. So, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it's funny because, what was a conspiracy theory, I don't know, back in the 80s, we were talking about fluoride and, what it was doing in the 80s. And then it comes out, it lowers the, a few points on the
your IQ,
the IQ test.
It inhibits you from learning, and it stunts a lot of things in your brain. And we use it in our toothpaste and our water. And
then if you read the toothpaste, it says, "Do not swallow."
Do not swallow.
Why am I putting this in my mouth if I can't swallow it? Why are every time you go to the dentist, they're putting fluoride in your mouth? The reason why they're putting fluoride in your mouth is because you're paying for it. Yeah. They get paid more for putting fluoride in your mouth, and that's part of the problem. And you say, "No, I don't want fluoride." Well, your teeth are going to rot out. Well, I'd rather my teeth rot out and use dentures than be stupid.
Well, yeah, this is some wild stuff, and now we have an administration that says on the first day they're going to ban it. I mean, that's huge.
I hope he fulfills. If he does half of what he says he's going to do, I would be happy. And one of the things that he said he was going to do last time was get us out of the UN,
Yes.
and he didn't do it. And I was very disappointed in that, because recognizing the evils that the UN, and their goals are, is recognizing it's one thing. We're doing something about it's the other. Now, he did get us out of UNESCO and some of the arms of the UN,
Yes.
but not the actual UN. And so that's what's got us in a lot of this
Yep.
stuff. And we fund it. I mean, we fund it. We're paying for it.
Yeah.
Why are we paying for this stuff? And that's the fundamental issue. Is they tax us for all kinds of crazy stuff, and that's one of them.
You ain't kidding.
So one of the other things that we produce, and this is for our members, this is our bulletin. This is the JBS bulletin, and that's our slogan there. Less government, more responsibility, and with God's help, a better republic. And so this is the outside here. This is some of our speakers. This is on our speakers bureau. If you want to book a speaker to an expert to come and talk about this. This guy, I know you can't see him, but this guy in the middle is Matt Truella. He just did a tour through Georgia and South Carolina talking about the doctrine of the lesser magistrates standing up to the greater magistrate. And we can do that on the county level, and we can do that on the state level. The county level to stand up to the state and the federal government, and the state level to stand up to the federal government tyranny. That's why America was here, really. You had the lesser magistrates standing up to the tyrant King George.
Amen. Yeah.
And that's why we're here. And we've forgotten this doctrine because, I guess we just weren't taught it. And, the people that knew about it, they just didn't have a spine to stand up. Because it takes a spine to stand up to a greater magistrate and say, hey,
It does.
what you're doing is wrong, and I'm not going to implement that.
Yes.
And so, but when people band together and stand up against the greater magistrate,
Realize your power.
good things happen. I mean, there's strength in numbers. A prime example, and we talked about this before, was New Mexico. Governor said, I'm tired of all these school shootings. We're going to ban open carry for 6 months. Well, 40, 50 pastors, or 40 or 50 sheriffs stood up and said, nope. They marched on the Capitol, come and take it.
Right.
Now, if one person did that, they'd ring him out to dry. But, several did.
Yep.
And they said no, and she backed down. Why? What was she going to do? There was nothing she could do. And so that's the doctrine of the lesser magistrate, utilizing nullification. And so nullification is one of our action points to make people aware of that. And most people don't even know about nullification. They don't know that they can do this stuff. So making them aware, we're about education. That's our strategy and our weapon. That's what Robert Welch said. And so looking through this stuff here, back in the back, it shows successes. So, and you can get online and look for this. Right there is a success story in New Mexico. And so you read up on what other members are doing and other chapters are doing in other places that are successful, because we want to repeat success. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. Everybody's got a family. Everybody's working. Everybody's got, we're not liberals getting paid to do this. And so we're fighting this. We're busy, dealing with life. And so we want to make it easier. We want to be respectful of people's time. And so if something works, why reinvent the wheel? Let's try that here. Right. Let's see if we can change it up, make it fit our area, and do it here. And so that's what we want to do. We want to learn from the mistakes of others and not do that. And we also want to learn from the successes and continue to do that. And also, it has action points in here about what we're trying to do. Like one of them I mentioned, rein in big government through nullification. So you read up on it so you're not ignorant about it. And then it has a QR code if you want more information on it to read up on it. Stop mass migration. Stop the con from them trying to change the federal constitution, because they're not following it anyway. And then it has this little flap right here that is the checklist. So you read up on it, and then you have a checklist of things you can do individually to be effective. So not only are we telling you about the problem and complaining about the problem, we do something about it.
Kind of a roadmap on how to get involved and do things.
Absolutely. And so I'm one person, and I have a lot of states here in the Southeast. I can't dig for you, but I can give you the tools to do it.
Right. I got you. And that means it takes people. It takes people gathering together. It takes people getting involved in this stuff, right? So,
absolutely.
So yeah, I'd like to cover here in a little bit the actual. I'm going to bring up the website, and then I would like to cover the scorecards too. So.
Absolutely. And I was just looking at the website. If you go to jbs.org,
I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and while he's talking about it.
This is our website here. That's our scorecards.
Okay, let me get over here to the JBS.
So click, there we go, jbs.org. So there's several tabs at the top here. Click on, if you hover over the tabs here.
Okay.
Take action is the first one. We've got calendar events, email updates, legislative alerts is awesome.
Okay.
Like I said, everybody's busy. We can't keep track of everything that goes on in Washington, because you got the Senate, you got the House. They're over here doing stuff. They're meeting at night. They're having secret meetings. We can't keep track of it. So we send out email alerts. So a lot of times what happens is the battle is fought and lost while we're living our life, and nobody even knows about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, and on top of that, that's just the federal level. We got the state level going on. You got a House and the Senate there that are legislating things. And so we send out legislative alerts on the state level as well to keep track of that. Oh, and also there's a third level of government, the local level. So what we do is we help you keep track of what's going on with email alerts and what's on the federal level and on the state level, so that you in the individual chapter can keep track of what's going on the local level. We got 159 counties in Georgia alone. That's a lot of counties to keep track of in one state. And so you keep track of what's going on the local level, what's going on in the school board, what's going on county commissioner, zoning and planning board, economic development board, city council, different things like that. And then the bigger things, we can send you an email and it says, hey, this vote's about to happen. You can call him, you can send him an email, you can go, here's his office, you can go visit him, and do all three. It's kind of like marketing. If you see one ad, okay, but if you continue to see it for a while, it kind of mulls over, so then they get the picture. Hey, I've heard something about that.
Right.
And so on down, start a local chapter, Power of 500, donate. We have the legislative alerts, federal alerts, legislative alerts, state alerts. Find My Elected Officials is really interesting. You put your address in, and if you don't know who your elected officials are, it'll tell you.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And so find out who they are. First, you got to know who they are, and then you got to know how they do. So hover over action projects.
Okay.
So here's some of the things. We're fighting against communists. We're fighting against people that want a totalitarian government. And there's several aspects to the life that we have to deal with if we're going to fight against them. Not just one or two different things. We got to fight against all of it. And the first thing that we want to do is expose the deep state and what they're doing. The second one, Save the Children. They are indoctrinating the children. We had public schools at one time, 100 years ago, but they have transformed into government schools. They're not public anymore. And they are training your children to be good little communists.
Right. Yes.
I mean, call a spade a spade. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're doing. And so restore election integrity. That's a given. If we don't restore our elections, we've lost the republic. Mm-hmm. And secure the elections is one of the big things that I want to see happen. And it's actually encouraging to me, because the way they're stealing the elections, and I know how can you say, that's encouraging, but it's encouraging in that it tells me that the American population is far more conservative than the elected officials.
That's right.
So if we can just secure the elections, the needle will automatically go backwards.
Right. Like you said, getting back to the root of the tree instead of fighting the branches. Right?
Absolutely. And some of the other tabs there, we have, pull that back up. So support your local police. That's a very interesting one. You've heard defund the police at the very bottom left there. They want to defund the local police, your local sheriffs, and what'll happen if they're defunded, you're going to have chaos. Mm-hmm. And then after chaos ensues, they say, "Oh well, I've got a great idea. Let's buff up the FBI, the CIA, the NSA. Oh, let's combine them all together. Let's start a nationalized police force,
The Department of Police Interior."
Well, does that sound like a good idea?
No, it sounds like a police state without plurality.
Well, a local sheriff is accountable to the people that elect him.
That's right.
His children go to school with your children. He goes to church. Y'all go to church together. Different things like that. He's accountable to the people. Mm-hmm. A nationalized police force is not accountable to the people. It's accountable to the government.
Right.
And that's not a good thing. And so that's what they want to do, is start that. And if you just look at the 20th century alone, Hitler had the Gestapo. Lenin started the KGB. Chairman Mao Zedong and the Chinese communists, they had the secret police. Mm-hmm. Mussolini had his own people. Castro had his nationalized police force. That's classic.
We had Barack Obama talking about a federal police force.
Of course, that was some of the stuff that we're pushing back against that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so that doesn't sound like too good of an idea.
Nope.
If every single communist dictator of the 20th century used that, that's probably something that we need to oppose.
Yes.
Stop a constitutional convention. They want to take our Constitution from us. The way they're acting now, violating our constitutional rights, if they take the Constitution from us, what kind of lawlessness are they going to do then? I mean,
right.
they just go off the rails then.
Mm-hmm.
Stop the globalist agenda. And it just goes on and on and on. Make America states again. So one of the things that Trump did is signed USMCA, mm-hmm. which is a diminishing the sovereignty of America in a North American Union through a trade agreement. And that's one of my critiques of him, would be him signing that. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about America first? That is not an America first trade agreement.
Gotcha. That's the Canada, America, Mexico.
U.S., Mexico, and Canada together.
Gotcha.
It's a step toward establishing a North American Union. Mm-hmm. You already have a European Union, and then once you have a union for each continent, then you establish a one world government. It's a step toward that. The other one's get us out of the UN. That's our action point. Stop mass migration. End the Fed. I mean, that would be great.
Yes.
You have Mayer Rothschild that said, "Let me issue and control a nation's wealth, and I care not who makes its laws."
That's right.
Stop Agenda 2030. Now, that's sort of newer. Have you heard of Agenda 21?
Absolutely.
So the reason why you had the pandemic in 2020 was to push for the Great Reset in Agenda 21.
That's
and
right.
we were very successful in pushing them back and stopping Agenda 21 from the Great Reset in Agenda 21. And that's not a conspiracy theory.
No.
Klaus Schwab wrote the book,
yeah.
COVID-19 and the Great Reset.
That's
I mean,
right.
They're telling you. You just got to listen. Mm-hmm. But if you watch the mainstream propaganda, they don't ever talk about this stuff.
No.
And that's why nobody knows about it. And that's why they say, "Oh, well, I haven't seen it on I watched MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News, and they don't talk. None of them talk about it."
Right.
Well, all of them are controlled, and even Fox News is controlled. It's owned by Rupert Murdoch, who's a member of the Council of Foreign Relations.
Right.
Hello? Globalist. He's part of them. It's just, it's different levels of liberalism. You got, well, not liberal. It's different levels. You got communism.
Multifaceted, right? I mean, it's like a splinter breaking off from the same toothpick, but it's just going in different directions.
Right. It's the same globalist garbage, just a little bit less of a left slant.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Right.
And so the War on Farmers is another one. You saw the protest in
Canadian, the Canadian truckers.
The Canadian truckers protest. The protest in the Netherlands.
Yeah, with the farmers.
Yeah, because they were using eminent domain, taking farms away from people that's been in families for 10 generations. I mean,
sounds a lot like Mao Zedong, doesn't it?
Yep. And if you look, like I said, Mao Zedong did this. He starved the Chinese capitalists. They take control. It's all about control. You control the food. You control the energy. You control where you can drive with electric cars, which has a very limited range. And so you control all that. And if you don't do what the government tells you to do, well, they'll just cut your car off.
Right.
You don't get internet, or you don't get power.
Yep.
Or you don't get food.
Yep. And last I checked, you got to eat to live.
Yeah. I mean, Hitler starved the Jews.
That's right.
I mean, people did Stalin starve millions.
Oh yes,
Millions.
Every revolution was They took the food away and controlled it. They took the guns away. They had no repercussion to protect themselves. And guess what? They were enslaved.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And so that's what we fight against. The other thing is podcasts and videos that we produce. Different things like that. And then under the education tab, we have a Constitution course. A course on the Bill of Rights, getting back to basics, different things like that, different booklets that we have to educate people and make people aware of what's going on. Basically just being light in the world, exposing the darkness.
Right.
Like the good Christians we should be.
That's right.
It's a simple concept. And go ahead and click on the Freedom Index there.
This is what I'm wanting to get to. So we've been talking a lot about scorecards on the show and how influential and how we're going to be really, really focusing on this. Let me get this pulled up here. So this is the John Birch scorecard, correct?
Yes, this is
okay.
The freedomindex.org. You can go to the New American. You can go to JBS. The New Americans
and they got a mobile shortcut up here.
Yeah, we do. And there's two different things. Click on scorecard. Oh well, let's do this.
Okay.
Type in who just got to be Speaker of the House.
Thune.
Right. Type his.
What's his name? Robert Thune, I think.
Who was the Rick Scott? I thought we.
Rick Scott. Yeah. We're talking about Rick. Rick was the favorite, right?
Yeah, they said he was the most conservative one.
Yep.
So I don't care how conservative, I don't care how liberal you talk. How you vote is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, let's pull this up here and make it a little bit bigger.
All right, well, click on it. Click on it.
All right,
and there's
go.
Click on that.
It shows R for party, score 68.
Okay.
Oof. Okay.
So here you go. There's the 3 sessions that he did and the scores he did. He had a 45 the first. He's got a 68 lifetime score. Well, most people when they first see that, they go, "Oh, well, he's batting over 50%, over 500. He's doing all right, I guess." And I always say, well, if your son or daughter, if your child got a 68 on a test score in high school, would you be happy? Or would you be a little bit upset? Now, that's a test score,
right?
But here we're dealing with the Constitution. We're dealing with American politics.
Right.
And so what we do, and we do this for members, if you click on the red right there, print latest scorecard.
Okay.
For our members, we offer this in a printable thing.
That's a lot of information here.
And so you can it's a front and back, and you fold it into a little booklet type thing. And so right here he has 100, but he didn't vote. We graded him on the votes that he did vote on, because we didn't grade him on the votes he didn't vote on. But he did not vote for H.R. 2882, the Consolidations Appropriations Bill. He did not vote on this other thing. And so was it that he didn't have a spine, or was he sick? I know I was talking to one congressman, and he was just sick. And so he'd got the flu or something, and he was just out, and he didn't vote.
Okay.
And so you got to ask those questions.
Oh.
And on the back there, it goes into a bigger... it tells you a little bit more about the bills.
Okay.
Audit the Fed bill, Consolidated Appropriations bill. Gives you a little bit more information. And also, it shows you what at the end, go up, at the end of the little blurb there at the bottom, look, Article 1, Section 8, bottom left.
Oh, my bad, right here. Gotcha.
So it tells you the bill, a little bit about the bill. It spends $95.3 billion in emergency aid he voted against that. That's good.
Good.
Okay. But it pertains to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8. So it gives you the part of the Constitution that it pertains to, whether it's a violation of that or not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Constitution Amendment 4. Okay. And this one here, he done pretty good. The last session, he had a 75. Who are your and we not only have this on the federal level, but we have it on the state level as well.
Right. Well, I would like to type in. Let me type in John Thune, because he was the one that was voted in by secret ballot today. So let's just check out and see who the replacement speaker is going to be.
So he's got a 56.
56. All right, let's just look at him really quick. So
he's been in a long time.
He's been in for a while. Huh?
56 lifetime. He has a 53 this last time. Okay. And so click on print latest scorecard.
All right.
Down there.
A 53.
So he's got a 33 on this last legislative session.
Ooh.
He voted for the Consolidation Appropriations Bill, which spends $467.5 billion with a B dollars, which is a violation of Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, redistribution of wealth. That's communism. That's not crony capitalism. That's communism, redistribution of wealth. And you see CPH right there?
Yes.
Go up, CPH, that column?
Yes. So that shows...
That is cost per household.
Oh, my God.
So
really?
Everyone here, since that bill passed, 75 to 22, each household is going to have to either pay $3,557 in taxes, or we'll pay it in inflation, because like Milton Friedman said, seeking a balanced budget amendment is fruitless. The economy will always balance itself out. You will either pay for it in taxes, or you will pay for it in inflation by the devaluing of your money. So that other one down there, HR 22 or 2882, Consolidated Appropriations, $1.2 trillion in spending, and each household is going to pay $9,130 in either taxes or inflation. And you wonder why each time you go to the grocery store, things cost more and more and more. It's because the value of your dollar is less.
Wow.
It's supply and demand. If there's more of it, then it's worth less. It's a simple concept.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's kind of the things that we do there. So
who do we want to type in?
Go up to the top, back to the Freedom Index. Freedom Index. Okay. So this is the federal level. If you scroll down a little bit, click on Georgia.
Okay.
So this is the state level.
Okay.
These are your legislators on the state level. And you got a lot of them because you got 153 counties. Wow. So who are you got Colton Moore. Look up Colton Moore's.
Let's look up Colton. Okay.
His is pretty good.
It better be.
But boom, he's got a 94.
94%.
That's pretty good.
Okay.
And I can tell you the one he voted wrong one time. And I don't think he was aware.
Scorecard?
Click latest scorecard. Let's see what that is. Okay, so he's got 100 on the scorecard. Now go back. Okay. That's good. But go back.
Let's see here.
The second tab. Right there. So scroll down. There's all his votes. Okay, explains it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Right there's the one vote. He voted for the Georgia Promissory Note Scholarship Act.
Okay.
Now, it goes by another name in some other states called school choice. Now, that sounds good on the surface.
Okay.
The problem with it is with shekels come shackles.
Gotcha.
Also, at the outset, it doesn't take any money away from the government-run school system.
Okay.
So you're just adding more debt on top of that. It would be a better bill if it took money away from the public schools or government-run schools and put it toward that.
Right.
That would make it better. But still, at its fundamental level, it's redistribution of wealth.
Yes.
You're saying you can use this money we're giving you this money in a voucher form or a tax credit form to use for homeschooling or
Yes.
Private Christian school. But the problem, like I said, with shekels come shackles. Every time that has been implemented, every single time, later the shackles come.
Gotcha. Okay.
At the outset, well, I'll give you the worst example. In Arizona, to homeschool your children and get the money, you have to have your home inspected to make sure your home is up to snuff before you can educate your child in your own home.
Right. Wow.
So what they do is they dangle that money over your head,
And then they get access.
you didn't get it. If you don't do it, you don't get the money. And then most of the time what happens is, well, you need to use this textbook. Well, I don't use that textbook. It's got pornography in it. It's also the textbook they use in the public school system.
Right.
That's why I homeschool. Well, if you don't use this textbook, you don't get the money. Or you have to use this curriculum.
Right.
I don't want to use that curriculum. That's Common Core. That's garbage. It teaches critical race theory.
Sure, they attach all this cool stuff with
And
it.
it comes after. The shekels always come after. It's a bait and switch.
Right.
So it's best just not to take the money. The best thing, don't tax me
Right.
and let me educate my family, my children, the way they should be educated, the way I want them educated, with my money.
Right.
If you don't tax me, I can use my money to educate my own children. Don't take my money from me and then turn around and give it back to me
Right.
with strings. But the way I'm saying do it, don't tax me at all, they can't attach strings to it.
I got you.
Unless there's a central bank digital currency.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's a
Which is a whole nother issue.
whole nother issue, and yeah, we've talked a lot about it, but yeah, you're right. That is a handy tool. I mean, even if you're not interested, man, just to have this on the mobile shortcut so you can pull this up, it's wonderful.
So click on let's click on another one. Click Georgia again right there.
All right.
Let's scroll down. Let's see who. It's interesting, some of the lower scores that have an R next to their name. Scroll down, keep going, scroll down. You got tons of them. Let's see. Let's pick one that I know. Oh, here we go. Click David Clark.
David Clark.
David Clark. His brother ran for Senate. Was it Matt Clark? Something Clark.
Yeah.
He ran for Senate about a year or so ago.
So
He homeschools his children. He says he's a Christian. He's got a nice family. He goes to church every time the door is open. And he's supposed to be conservative. Why does he have a 47?
47. Well, let's just look.
Let's look and see. He voted for student loan forgiveness.
What? He voted for student loan forgiveness?
That's redistribution of wealth. That's stealing. That's a violation of one of the 10 Commandments. He's a Christian. So at this point, you go to him and you say, why do you call Christ Lord, Lord? You don't do what he says. He also voted to violate the First Amendment, free speech, which makes it a felony 90 days prior to an election to talk about the election and spread if they deem you spreading misinformation, they can put you in jail up to 5 years.
Wow,
that is a heinous violation of the First Amendment.
God, shame on you, Mr. Clark.
Mr. Clark, why are you doing this? He also voted for the Georgia New Green Deal.
Oh, what? Oh,
I mean, come on.
Where is this guy from? This is crazy.
He's supposed to be a conservative Christian. Why is he doing this? Probably because he's getting handled.
District address.
He's in Buford.
District House 98 in Buford, Georgia. Wow. Buford, what you guys need to wake up down there.
Well, he's not the only one. It keeps going.
Jeez. Okay.
And so what I would encourage members of the John Birch Society to do is print these off. Members have access to this, so they can print it off and hand it out to GOP meetings because people don't know. When I go and speak at GOP meetings, I ask them, what do you think about your legislature? And I was in Thomaston, and I think Beth Camp is down there. She's a senator here. We just passed her thing. I talked to I said, what do you think about Beth Camp? Well, this lady popped up and goes, oh, she's so conservative. She's so great. I had lunch with her last week. She's doing great things for Georgia. She's so conservative. And I said, well, if she's so conservative, and this was a couple years ago, why did she vote for the state budget? Now, this state budget, you want to talk about some fat.
Oh, yes.
This state budget at the time, 2 years ago, they voted on it and passed it. unanimously, nobody voted against it, was the largest increase in the history of Georgia. $30.2 billion increase.
Yeah.
From the previous year. And she voted for it. But I thought she was conservative. You know, and the list goes on and on and on. And she looks at it and goes, no, she didn't. I said, yes, she did. Here it is. And she goes, and it's like this look of betrayal comes on her face because I had lunch with her last week. She smiled at me. I shook her hand. I gave her a hug.
Or she's my friend.
She's my friend. Why would she do this? You know, and
Yeah.
she's looking through this and she's looking at all the other votes. That's just the one I remember off the top of my head. And it's like betrayal. If she's conservative, she voted for HB 1013, the I call that the WHO bill. The mental health bill that gives the WHO, the WHO, the power to assess the mental illness of Georgians. The mental health of Georgians. They deem you a right-wing mentally extremist. They incarcerate you indefinitely. They don't care about habeas corpus because they're a non-government organization. They don't care about the federal constitution.
Right.
They can take your guns from you. They don't care about the Second Amendment. They can take your children from you. They can force you to take psychotropic drug. I mean, the list goes on and on. And you're giving up sovereignty. You're giving up your freedoms to have a non-government organization, the WHO, assess the mental health of Georgians.
Right. That's insane.
But they're going to help the mental health of Georgia. They're going to do this and this and this. But you're giving up sovereignty.
Yeah.
You're giving up your freedoms. And so we have to stay ever vigilant in
is,
fighting against this stuff.
It'd be a very powerful tool. I really think. I mean, this is report cards, and this is what people are getting into. This is what 2025 is going to look at. So the legislators better watch out. People are going to be seeing this stuff, and they're going to want answers. I mean, that's all there is to it.
And we need to have this stuff floating around. Really,
I agree.
At all the town halls they have, at all the stuff they have in the restaurants that have like a bulletin board or something. Set a stack of them down there, so when they come back to their district and they go to out to eat, they can see. People know how they vote.
Right. Wow.
They can see that. Ooh. And I was handing one out in South Carolina about a year or so ago, and I was handing them out for an individual. I'll name him. Moss was his last name, Representative Moss. And Moss shows up at the GOP meeting after I'd already handed him out. And he picks one up and he's mad as a hornet. He's like, he got a 33 that session, and he's mad. He's like, why are you handing this stuff out, distorting my voting record, blah, 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 blah. And just mad. Like, this is you're biased. You just picked 6 of them, and you didn't look at my whole voting record. And I said, well, sir, we picked the 6 important ones. The 6 that pertain to the Constitution, that pertain to our action points.
The ones that you should have been studying more than most, right?
Right. I mean, the important ones. They vote a lot of stuff on little things that doesn't matter.
Right.
We wanted to cut through that and give you the ones that do matter.
And you're actually showing what part of the Constitution pertains to.
Right. So he's cussing me out and yelling at me. And I said, Mr. Moss, you said it misrepresented you. Did you not vote this way? He goes, well, yeah. I said, so how are we misrepresenting you? We didn't lie about it. All we're doing is telling the truth. All we're doing is being salt and light that is exposing the evil that is your voting record.
Right.
And I said, but here's the thing. You're mad at me. I didn't vote this way. You did. If you're going to be mad at anybody, you need to be mad at yourself.
Right. Maybe you should do some soul searching and realize the Constitution supersedes how you want to vote, and you need to vote with it.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. He wasn't mad. At the fundamental level, he wasn't mad at how he voted.
Oh, he was embarrassed, wasn't he?
He was mad that people was finding out how he was voting.
How the machine works. Exactly.
And for far too long have we sent people to the state houses, have we sent people to D.C., and they talk conservative, and then when they get down there, they get handled by a handler, and they vote like garbage, and then they smile at our faces, and they've been getting away with it.
They've been getting away with it. We've had we've had our backs turned, sitting on our hands. We've been letting them get away with it.
And it's interesting because several members of the John Birch Society in South Carolina would take a picture of the votes at the end of every vote thing, the yays and the nays, and they would post that to social media. And the establishment, the Rhino Republicans, got upset. I mean, upset. They wanted in the Republican national state convention. They wanted a referendum or whatever you call it to loyalty to the Republican Party, so that they don't do that anymore, to stop them from exposing the darkness that is their voting records. Because they were taking pictures of it and posting it to social media. This is how your person voted. Look how your person voted on this one.
Again, this is attacking the tree from the roots instead of the branches.
Yes.
It's not even attacking. This is not an attack. This is a fact. This is a factual record, a matter of record on how your legislators are doing and how we're going to bring accountability to this.
See,
beautiful.
Evil likes darkness. Evil likes the shadows. It doesn't want to be exposed. And so when people want to do things in secret, I always question it.
Absolutely.
Because the truth has nothing to fear from exposure. If you've done nothing wrong, exposure is, what are you going to expose? There's nothing to expose. But the establishment hates exposure.
Yes.
The establishment, the Republican rhinos, they hate this with a passion. And we spread these things around like wildfire.
I love it. Just the fact, we didn't talk about this yesterday, but like I'm super giddy about this, and I'm in another group that's working on scorecards. But this is a lot of information. We got activists that will have this on their phone tonight, and they'll have every weapon they need to get started to hold accountability and really get started on the ball of our legislators. This is wonderful. I hope everybody's paying attention out there. We're going to be posting these links, so
indeed,
it's great, man.
And it takes a lot of effort. If you think about it, we have 50 states.
Yeah.
There's all 50 states.
This is wild right here.
And there's a House and a Senate in 50 states. And so we're keeping track of all 50 state legislators.
Yeah. If you guys are out there now, you can just look the freedomindex.org up, and it's got a link for the mobile shortcut. It's right there.
And it takes a lot of money to do that. And so,
gotcha.
Wonderful. If you can join the society or donate, I would encourage people to do that to help us keep this going, because this is such a detrimental tool to taking back our republic and giving praise where praise due. With Colton Moore there,
Colton. We
need to keep people in there like him that stands up to the establishment, and they go after.
That's
him.
right.
I mean, they go after.
You see what they've done? They've ostracized him.
Absolutely.
Well, we need more people that are getting these good scorecards and standing up with them. And, that's the root. If you can get more people to stand on the Constitution and stop this authoritarianism, you stop so much. It's, man.
But here's the
awesome.
thing.
And thank you, Colton. And I heard he had a really good shootout this past weekend. He had his annual shootout. I didn't get to go. I had to work.
I know. I wanted to go, too, because I like shooting those fully automatic.
Oh, yeah. The Browning, that thing's great. All right. So we got a bunch of comments. No phone calls tonight, so you can still call in if you want. We're going to go down the comments.
Okay, excellent.
And I told him I'd keep him an hour, but I've got him behind. So Charles Stoker, good evening, sir. It says, looks a lot like that guy from the North Carolina, Arthur Hampton.
Well, I am that guy.
Yeah.
North and South Carolina.
That's true.
I cover it all. Southeast. Call me the SEC.
There you go. He covers a lot of ground. And we do thank him so much for being here with us tonight. And Sharon Holland, as always, thank you for watching. Appreciate you. We'd start the show a little early. And thank you. Jennifer Tudor, my wonderful Patriot friend, says, we really dodged a bullet last week. We have to keep going through. We cannot stop now. We did. I think so. And we were talking a little before the show, and we're not going to go into it for lack of time, but I mean, it's exciting to kind of watch all this unfold. I said it today, after being just sort of doom and gloom for the last few years and really just going through the sludge, and now it's like a sigh of relief, kind of a reset, and it's like, okay, this looks like it could come to fruition here, a real change in government. So,
absolutely.
Jennifer says, we need a John Birch group in every county to educate our communities.
That's what I'm working on. Go on jbs.org and check that out. It has a way to email me, and we can talk and get some stuff going, because that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a chapter in every single county in the Southeast. 159 counties in Georgia, I'd like to see 159 chapters. In South Carolina, we got 49. I'd like to see them everywhere.
That's right.
Just working together. And it's a grassroots effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's bottom up.
Right.
You can't be effective on the state level unless you're effective on the local level. And you can't be effective on the federal level unless you're effective on the state level.
That's right. And Jennifer says, in Chattooga, nobody wants to get involved in the idea how to motivate people. You'd think the last 4 years would have every freedom-loving human motivated, but not here.
Listen. I was in Chattanooga last night. I recruited 2 people, met with several people there. There are people there. You just got to find them, link up, check out the website, shoot me an email. And next time I come up through here, we can get together and I can show you all the people that I met with. And maybe get a chapter going in Chattanooga. Like I said, and that's interesting, you're right there.
And she's right, yeah. 1 county over.
1 county over. And
Jen, I can promise you, we're getting some things rolling here, and we will definitely, just like as always, we've worked together for years. We've done things. We'll continue to roll this out in Chattooga County. So absolutely. Lisa Adams says, "Hey y'all, Lisa, my wonderful patriot friend. Good to see you this evening." Jennifer Tudor says indoctrination camps. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. David Smith, my brother from Floyd County, says it sounds like every county in Georgia needs a JBS chapter. Do we have any chapters in the 14th?
Which district? Is that this district?
That's this district here.
Well, we're about to start one. So,
yeah.
So reach out on the website or to reach out to him, and we can get something going here.
Look, I want to just say this. We spent a lot of time together yesterday, and we got more videos coming out the weekend. But I have been looking into this for a long time. We're always searching for who can we get involved with, who as grassroots. We're truth, transparency, accountability. We got to pick up the ball, and it's just we understand. Arthur and I, that it was almost divine intervention how this came about to be, and it's not a crazy story or anything like that, but the way that it worked out, he was meant to be here yesterday and today, and I'm telling you, this is something that I have been looking at for a while, and it's almost a no-brainer. But I'm telling you, yes, we can get these chapters started and we can get active in this area. And I don't know if Arthur knows. I mean, he knows we have Marjorie and Colton up here. So obviously the people that we're dealing with, he knows that we got a lot of people ready with boots on the ground. So I just want to say that, man, because this is not this wasn't by chance. This was divine intervention that he's here with me. So you bet you we can get this thing rolling. And I'm glad you're here with me tonight. We'll get this posted up on Twitter here in just a little while.
Look at that one right there. It says, does JBS collaborate with other groups and organizations such as GRA? Mm-hmm. Well, as a matter of fact, the guy that linked us up is a member of the GRA. And several members of the GRA are also members of the John Birch Society.
Yes.
Like I said, first and foremost, we are an intelligence organization. So they're members that get the intelligence and the know-how. And I don't want to take away from what you're doing. What I want to do is I want to help you do what you're doing better. Mm-hmm. And yes, that is Josh Clark's brother.
Yeah, and he asked if there are any current elected officials who are members of the JBS. So.
Colton Moore, and the reason I say Colton Moore, it's because he's okay with me saying it. There are others, but we do not publish our membership. There's several others, and if they don't explicitly tell me that they're okay with me disclosing that, I respect their wishes.
Okay, and I'm going to skip, David, your comment, because we're going to come back to it. We'll end the show like that. Andy says, I'm on now, just got home. Hi, everybody. Good show already. Thank you, Andy. A wonderful patriot down there towards Atlanta. We appreciate you. Jennifer says, can we look at our state representative scorecard and voting records on y'all's website? Absolutely, Jen. I mean, that's what we just got done looking at, and I will make sure tonight that you have that link on your phone, because that was awesome. And she put, I was thinking about Eddie Lumsden. She put, Eddie Lumsden doesn't even read the bills. He's proved that at our GOP meeting 3 or 4 years ago. I was thinking about when I saw your name, Eddie Lumsden. So, and Ray Blankenship, man, stalwart up in Catoosa County. We love Colton Moore. So, Ray, this is something I think you'll be interested in as well. So, Lisa says, yes. Andy, please ask Arthur about the John Thune Senate leader election today. We just covered a little bit of that, but we're going to go back to that in a second. The 14th district doesn't play. You ain't kidding. And yeah, she saw the scorecard. So I'm going to go back up here because I don't want to keep Arthur. He's still got to drive. So we talked a little bit about this. This is from David. What do y'all think about Matt Gaetz as AG and some of Trump's other cabinet picks? So we'll stop on our comments. Wonderful to have all you guys out here with us tonight. So yeah, let's just talk. Let's just take a few minutes. You can kind of talk about it. I mean, I'll say this: I was super impressed that Matt Gaetz is even nominated. Obviously, I have. I've got everything on my phone right now. I'm going to be starting up a board and printing off every single nominee and putting, everything by from Tulsi Gabbard to Matt Gaetz to Thune. I've already started this so that we can start keeping records on these people. We can get to know these people because, Matt Gaetz would still have to be approved. Mm-hmm. And Thune, of course, we knew that the Republicans were going to throw us a curveball in the Senate because they don't give one iota about you or what you think, regardless. And I think earlier, if you go back and see where Arthur kind of showed Rick Scott, he was probably the best of the worst, all right? I mean, obviously, I think both of us would probably agree Rand Paul would be that would be my pick. Thomas Massey, somebody like that with the votes of the Constitution. But anyway, our goal is we don't need to dissect these people to the point to where we're just throwing darts at their backs. I think we're going to be giving them all a chance, but we're going to have to hold their feet to the fire. So
absolutely, and Trump proved that at his first session. The biggest issue that I had was his Secretary of State pick last time, John Bolton, who was a member of the CFR, a known neocon. Yes. I mean, just let's go to war with everybody, UN, all this globalist garbage. And Trump fired him.
Yeah, he sure did. I mean, look, 2016, you had Donald Trump, an outsider that went into did a cannonball into the deep state. And then we had the Russian collusion, COVID, everything that you could possibly think of was thrown at him during his presidency. And then leading up through the years until now. The Democrats have really, they've hurt themselves in every single way trying to attack Donald Trump. They're not going to be able to come back in this new administration with the same old things. They're done. And what we're seeing here is really, in reality, kind of like a dream team of people, and that it should excite us, right? We should get excited, but we're also, what are we doing? We're boots on the ground. We're watching. We need them to know that regardless of the past, the history, we are here. We're not going away, right?
Right. And the biggest concern that I have is Donald Trump's VP pick.
Sure. Let's talk about J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance, he comes out of nowhere. And there's other people that come out of nowhere, and they have one common denominator. Bilderberg.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance went to Bilderberg. He's changed his name 3 times, and it's a concern. Now, I like what he's saying now, but wasn't he a never Trumper at one time?
He was.
And that concerns me, really. Why would Trump pick a never Trumper to be his vice president? And there's other people that went to Bilderberg. Like I said, it's a globalist organization. They plan out things. They want a one world community is what they say, a one world government, new world order. Condoleezza Rice went there. General Petraeus was there. Nobody knew who Clinton was. He went to Bilderberg, and then he was running for president.
Right, Barack Obama.
Nobody knew
community
who
organizer.
Nobody knew he was. And then he went to Bilderberg, and all of a sudden he's running for president.
Yes.
There's too many things that take place there that just calls into question that. And so what I see right now, the VP doesn't really have any power. He sits around and waits for the president to die. He's the head of the Senate, I guess. But I think they're setting Trump up like Reagan with H.W. Bush to run in 4 years. And he's openly H.W. openly talked about the New World Order,
That's right.
to overturn the Western civilization Christian world order. He openly talked about it in his speech. And I have an interesting story I'll tell you real quick. I met his son, Jeb Bush, in Greenville, and when he was running for president in 2016. And I said, Mr. Bush, your father kept talking about this New World Order. It seems kind of important. Did he mention that to you over, Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner? It seems kind of important. And Jeb is really tall. Really tall. And he said, he's towering over me. He goes, well, I don't know what my father was talking about back in 91 when he gave that speech, but I am for the sovereignty of America. And I said, well, Mr. Bush, it's awful specific. You remember him giving that speech back in 91 if you don't know anything about the New World Order.
Right.
And the next thing I know, 10 guys in suits come out of nowhere. No more questions. No more questions. We're getting pushed out the room. And I was like, what did I say?
Yeah.
Well, I struck a nerve, didn't I?
Somebody hit the panic button on that one.
And it's a legitimate question.
Right.
Why give the speech if it's not important?
Yes.
What is the issue there?
That's a good question. That's a simple question to answer, huh? Yeah, okay.
And it seems like they get their claws in everybody.
Yeah.
Trump, the one thing you can say about Trump, you can't control him. He's going to do what he wants to do. So I think what they're trying to do is surround him with people, advisors, like John Bolton, so that they can influence him.
Right.
In certain ways, because one person can't know and do everything.
Mike Pompeo, right?
Yeah.
And that was a big win on our part. Mike Pompeo, Nikki Haley, they're not going to be in this administration. So we see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I do,
Well, Nikki Haley, she was a young globalist leader. She
probably in the same class as Trudeau.
Maybe, or Putin, or Zelensky,
exactly.
You Bill Gates,
connect the dots
Jeff
here.
Bezos, Pfizer CEO, Moderna CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Even Tesla guy,
Elon Musk. You're right. And look, and I agree with him. I do. And I will say this, because I'm just getting started in this particular chapter, but I love the feeling that I have right now, like that weight's been lifted, right? So I feel like we should give some of these people the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, we're fighting every single day trying to influence to keep the bad people out. I think this is hopefully I trust God anyway. This is God's plan. So I'm hoping that there are less deep state influence, and perhaps some of these people have turned over a leaf, or they could be the greatest actors in the world, right? Time is going to tell on this one, y'all.
Right. And as much as I critique Trump, as much as I do that, we came out with this thing here. You can find that at shopjbs.org. Here it is, Trump World. This is a bookazine. It's a color thing covering his presidency that we came out with him for. If you want a copy of this. Nice. That's some of the stuff that we do there. So I critique a man where he needs to be critiqued.
Sure.
And I praise him where he needs to be praised. I want to look at this objectively, unlike a lot of the people that I met on the other side that just this rage of emotion. It's like I took too much testosterone and when I drank too much caffeine, and now I'm, just emotionally blah, and there's no objective cognitive thought in there. And so, but a lot of the picks I do like. I like Massey. He's the best congressman that we've had. He's the only one that has like 100%. Marjorie Taylor Greene's second. She did have a couple votes that I questioned. She voted for Juneteenth and stuff. But these things really work. And we need to focus on Congress, because who knows who we're going to get in 4 years.
That's right. Long-term
goal. We have a reprieve, but don't fall asleep. Congress can stop whoever is president in 4 years. Is it going to be Gavin Newsom? Is it going to be Kamala Harris? Who's it going to be? We don't know.
Right.
But if we educate our congressmen and let them know these things, that they can use the doctrine of the lesser magistrate to hold the president accountable to what little he should be doing.
Right.
Because that's the form of government that our founders give us. And so letting them know. And these scorecards are very powerful.
Yeah.
My
they are.
my congressman, Ralph Norman, if you look at the history of his voting record, the first was like a 60-something. It was bad. So what we did was we went to his donors, okay, that donated a lot of money to him. This is how you're effective. You want to hit them where it hurts.
This is
hit
offensive,
them
right?
where the donors are. Hit them in the wallet. And it's public record. You got to show where you get all your money from. Go to these. Now, unless they're nefarious, if they're normal people, donating, and that happens. People that, so go to them and show them how they vote. And so what happened was he gave him a sizable donation the first time. And I showed him this thing, and he looks at it and he goes, it's not too good, 68 or 60 something. He said, I'll take care of that. So when Ralph Norman came around the second time, he wanted another generous donation. And this generous donor said, I'll give you the same amount I gave you last time, only I'm going to prorate it to the score that you got at 60-something%. So I'm going to give you 60% of what I gave you last time, prorated. But I'm giving you 100%, but you got a 60. And if you look, this last session, he got 100.
Oh, wow.
That is how you affect people.
Wow.
You hit them in the wallet, you spread it around, and let people know about how they're voting. That's
Guys,
how
I
you
hope
hit
y'all are
people.
paying. We got some heavy hitters on here tonight. All these people that are commenting are some of our star activists in this area. So I hope everybody's paying attention, because I'm learning just like you. We've been given this wonderful tool in this tool chest right here alone that we can use going into session in January. A lot of us are going down to Atlanta with our lists of questions in January on opening day, and we're going to be putting people on the spot, asking them these questions. I would love to show up with a bunch of people's scorecards and say, can you explain this? I mean, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And
God,
so
get excited again.
But stay vigilant. Don't just go down the
Yes.
first day.
Right.
Visit. We need to have people down there every week, and going and doing and going and doing. And that's just some of the techniques that I work with members of the John Birch Society for doing. Now I do work with non-members, but my consulting fee for non-members are, it's a retainer fee of $5,000.
There you go.
So you get a value here with membership in the John Birch Society. It's only $22 a quarter.
There you go.
For the rest of this year, they're going to make a change. If you sign up before January 1st, you can get it for $22 a quarter.
Okay.
A couple can join for $25 a quarter. Now, afterward, they're raising the prices a little bit because of inflation.
Sure.
I mean,
I get that.
And
I signed up. I'm a member of this. I mean, y'all know me. I'm 100% transparent. I signed up. Another friend of ours signed up, and we're going to get active in this and get some chapters started, because this is laid out for us, and this is long term. This is not a temporary fix. This is where we need to be. So absolutely. And I do want to read one more comment from dear Sharon. She says, "We pray for Trump for wisdom for the job ahead of him." And I think that's a very it's got a lot of wisdom in it, because that's what we need to do. We cannot do this without the prayer of God and the blessing of God. And I think that God is kind of giving us another shot at this from everything we've been through. It's like, hey, you guys got another shot. Let's see what you can do.
Don't waste this shot.
Exactly. So, well, man, I've kept you an hour and a half, and it's been fun. And I'm telling you, we have got people biting at this. This is good. And I just want to say thank you for all the time that you've spent with me on the last couple of days. And I hope that our relationship's going to grow, because we're going to make this work. And we've got so many good people. Some of the best people in the world are right up in the 14th. So, man, I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, thank you for having me, Roy. I appreciate it, and thanks for letting me share these things. Like I said, I want to help people get active. A lot of people want to get active and they don't know what to do, and JBS has a plan that is tried and true. It works, and like I said, it's a long-term goal. You don't see the effects up front, but they do work over time, and they're lasting. And I do want to plug my podcast, The Gentleman's
please.
Review.
Yes.
You can see that on YouTube if I'm not too shadow banned already.
We'll get the link out here.
And Spotify, Apple Podcast, different things like that. And so I do cover JD. I do have an episode on JD Vance. Check that one out, The Real JD Vance. and some other things. And it's a smattering of intellectual scholarship and news, and I try to put it all together and not be too intellectual, but I don't want to bore people that like that type of stuff. And so,
Sure.
Thanks for having me. And
Yeah.
I really believe that together, if we work together, we can make Georgia and our nation a better place.
Absolutely. All right, guys, help me share this out. Get it out to anybody who you think might be interested in some of this stuff, and we can all kind of continue to group together. It's kind of laid out here. You can support me at givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground. We've got more on the way. We've got some local issues coming next week where we're going to be hopefully videoing a debate for school board. And I got some special things planned. We've got a really cool thing planned for the end of the year. Same thing we did last year with the same people. It's going to be great. And y'all just continue to pray for me, and I continue to pray for you. And I hope y'all have a great evening.
Legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said, to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from